Before child labor laws, factories were able to hire very young kids and get away with treating them poorly with little or no pay. Child labor was a very negative outcome of the Industrial Revolution.
By the time I was 9, the Industrial Revolution had been in full swing. My parents had died when I was very young. I was put into the factory's hands and started working there at just 6 years old. I was never paid until I was 12. No orphans younger than that were ever paid. I was told that I was given food, shelter, and clothing instead of being paid, and that I should be grateful. I was grateful for the food on my plate and the roof over my head, but it was hard to thank the people who you saw as enemies. But it was the only thing I knew. I remembered the awful conditions of the factory. It was a morbid place to be. Nobody was ever happy. You worked from the time you got there until the minute you left. There was no time to socialize or even make friends. Only one-hour break thrown in the middle of my 14-hour work schedule. It was loud and it was dirty. The factory definitely wasn't a kid-friendly place. You could find a young kid working on any machine, no matter how heavy or dangerous. I think the worst part was the injury and the deaths. Bad injuries was a normal occurrence, and I'd seen way more people die than any child should have. I had only worked in the factory for a year and a half before I badly burned my own hand. I remember asking for help only to be screamed at to get back to work. I worked for 3 hours with my raw hand until my break when I could barely get anyone to help me. The owners didn't care about us like they tried to convince us they did. I saw verbal and physical beatings on a daily basis. They used to weight us when we were late. Being weighted is when they would tie weights to one of the children's necks, and they made them walk up and down the factory aisles over and over. It was meant to serve as an example, basically scaring us into never being a minute late. It scared me enough to be on time every day, so luckily I never had to experience it. When I was younger, I remember hoping and praying that things would get better. I tried to reassure myself that when I was older, this would all be worth it. I was wrong. Things never got better. We received 3 small meals a day, nothing more, nothing less. Asking for more was perceived as a crime, so I didn't dare try. We worked hungry and we worked tired. I woke up every morning, ate a bland breakfast, went to work, and went to bed. The days were long and exhausting. Finally, when I was 12, I began to get paid about $1 an hour. But not soon after did I realize that it wasn't all I thought it would be. As I got older, I was treated more harshly. One day, I had broken a piece of the machine I was working on. It didn't matter that I cried or begged or said that I would never do it again. I remember apologizing, begging and pleading for them not to hit me. I was beaten until I could barely get up, and then I was ordered back to work. My hours increased as time passed, but my pay never did. And the days got longer and more agonizing. I planned on working until I was 18 and could make it on my own. I planned on finding a good job. I planned on getting as far away from the factory as I possibly could. I consider myself lucky. Children like me didn't even make it out. The factory was like a death trap to us kids, taking them one by one. You would think growing up without a family was hard, but I would have rather been by myself than in a factory full of people who were just as miserable as I was. And the truth of the matter was, we were all miserable, every single one of us.